Alright guys, welcome to the first official episode that has some structured content, I would say. Last time we kind of just spoke our minds and let it drift, but today we're going over a few cool topics. Sasha, if you want to...
Yeah, so we're going to be starting off with the Foundations. We're also covering Foundations Jumpstart as well. We're talking about the sets, what they mean for Commander. We might cover a little bit of other formats as well, but mostly we'll be focusing on Commander. There's a lot of cool cards in here that I think will introduce some new decks in Commander, makes it so we can do a lot more fun stuff, but also the reprints from these sets make a lot more cards budget friendly, which for us we're always interested in.
There are a few cards that are sitting around $5 where in a $40 to $50 budget, that's a really good chunk. That's like, what, an eighth or a tenth of your budget, which is, that's a significant amount. And those $5 cards now, some of them under $1 are bulk. So pretty excited for the reprints because that means we get more tools to play with that we weren't having access to earlier.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you have a $100 budget. If you have a $100 budget, you can do anything you want.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, especially even just with the new cards themselves, with the new commanders, that also makes it really cool. Which is just a lot of new decks to build. I think we're working on some Foundations decks. You already built the Alesha deck.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, Alesha deck was so fun to build. Honestly, I remember when it got spoiled. We were sitting just playing like Overwatch or whatever. I was like, oh my gosh. I showed them it and I was like, you can build Playcrafter. Just loot Playcrafter. And that's kind of what I went with the deck. And it was really fun and it was super easy to build. And I got to utilize some of the new reprinted cards. That's always an exciting thing to do.
Yeah, it's a super cool deck. I will say, it does kind of bring that Rakdos toxic element of just constantly doing Playcrafter. You will lose some friends if you play that.
Yeah. And if you play like, what's the one that enters the battlefield? Each opponent sacks a creature if they can't, or is a creature planeswalker if they can't. Playcrafter. Playcrafter is whenever it enters the battlefield, each opponent sacks a creature or planeswalker. If they can't, they discard a card. It's even worse.
I don't think that's Playcrafter. Playcrafter is just a regular one.
No.
Is that? I forget what Playcrafter does now.
Yeah, no, Playcrafter.
Huh, interesting. It's that good. I didn't know.
It says when it enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker of their choice. Each player who can't discards a card.
I always thought of it as the base ETB. Creature.
It's very rare that you actually get the discard, but it's not bad. There's also 4 mana versions that are not as cool, but I put them in just because that's kind of your way of getting Alesha in to deal combat damage, which is your win con. I would say, aside from some of the other things, but that's another video podcast. So I had that all set up for a different day, but today we're talking about just some of the interesting cards. So Sasha, I think if you want to start us off with the most broken ones, this will probably be the most of our episode here. I think this...
Yeah, I think in all the Foundations, even Jumpstart 2 including, I think this one is just the most broken commander in the entirety of the set. Niv Mizzet Visionary. 4 and Izzet for a legendary Dragon Wizard, 5/5 flying, gives you no maximum hand size, and whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, you draw that many cards. It's an insane card. I built the deck. You'll be seeing a video of that pretty soon. But it's a really good deck. I built it with pingers so that whenever you cast a non-creature spell, those pingers are dealing 1 damage to each opponent. That draws you 3 cards. All of a sudden, all of your non-creature spells have Ancestral Recall attached to them.
Why does it have no max hand size?
I don't know. I actually didn't know that when I built the deck originally. I was looking for ways to give myself no max hand size. And I reread the card and I was like, wait, why does it give you no max hand size? It doesn't need that. It's already powerful enough.
You should have to fight to be able to keep your grip of like 50 cards.
Yeah, I know.
You should just put cards in like, I don't know if they exist, but like discard X cards deal X damage to each opponent. You could just like kill people from that. I don't know if those exist. I'm just spitballing, but
I know that cards similar to that exist, but not in Izzet. They're mostly in Rakdos.
Yeah, Niv Mizzet is just, oh my gosh, there's so many things you can do with it. And they even printed cards in this set that deal with it. So the new one that is just, I think, works the best with it, they have that 1 mana. It's 1 red for a sorcery, deals 3 damage to each opponent.
Yeah, granted, it is sitting at $5 right now because of that Niv Mizzet combo. Everyone saw that immediately. But that is a 1 mana, draw 9 cards, deal 3 damage to everyone. That's not bad at all.
Why did they make this? They really should not have made a card this good. It's great. It is so powerful.
It's extremely powerful. I just think it's getting to that point where I think it might be too powerful soon.
Yes. Oh no, this is too powerful. I'm sorry. This is way too good. Like if I see this sitting across from me at the table, I'm sorry, but I'm hard targeting them until they can't cast their commander anymore because luckily they're in Izzet, so you can just kill the commander a bunch.
Yeah.
But if they have counter spells like this deck will, it's gonna be really, really hard. The 3 damage card called Bolt Wave. I just found it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great card. But yeah, speaking of other broken cards though, let's talk about some of the other commanders in here. One of my favorites, Coma World Eater. You actually tried to build this deck once, didn't you?
Yeah, there's just too many ways to build it. Like there's too many paths. Like, you want to do combat damage, but then like because of the nature of being 7 mana in these colors, it's Simic, you kind of want to have landfall. So I was like a landfall deck, a deal commander damage deck, but then I also had a bunch of control pieces because this Coma, unlike the last one, doesn't have any control aspect, and it just was a little unfocused. And then I lost the deck list randomly, so that also helped me decide to move to a different commander to build.
I will say, I do think the other Coma is better just for that more control-y factor.
You can shut down planeswalkers with it.
I'm aware.
Super good.
Very good, yeah. Yeah, don't get me wrong, this one is still great though. It's a 3-shot commander naturally with trample. It's pretty good. Plus that Ward 4 naturally is
untouchable.
It's extremely hard to pay for.
If you've ever played against a Tivit deck, you know you don't ever touch it.
Yeah.
Your free spells, like if you want Deadly Relic, turns into 4 mana. That is terrible. There's a reason why other ends and stuff like those 4 mana exile spells are not played. Yeah, I think that the Coma super. It's Timmy Coma. It's a Timmy version of the old Coma. It's super awesome. Throw Aqua Swarm in, you're gonna have a great time.
Yeah, definitely. Blue is that color to have all that unblockable stuff, so you'll get in really easily. Plus, even then, you don't need the unblockable because he does have that natural trample.
You can also make him Serpent Tribal. Now, it's kind of expensive because they haven't printed many of them. Like, the reprints for Serpent-specific cards aren't great, but Whelming Wave is a great one. Return all creatures to their owner's hand except for Krakens, Leviathans, Octopus, and Serpents. He is a Serpent, and he makes Coma Coils, which are Serpents. So you can do one-side board wipes. The coolest card to add, I would say, there's 2 cards I would add. They're about $5 though, so they would cover a lot of budget. So you have to choose one or the other. And in my list, I made room for this one. Elemental Bond. 3 mana enchantment. Whenever a creature with power 3 or greater ETBs, you draw a card. Coma hits, you draw 4.
Yeah, I think that's worth it.
You can't get better than that, really. And then another one is Adrix and Nev. Just doubling the tokens. So whenever Coma hits, he will now actually make 8 tokens. Which, 4 and 8, I'd rather have 8.
Speaking of $5 cards that I think are good for the deck, this one actually came out in Foundations, and you pulled one of these in the only Foundation pack you opened. Banner of Kinship. The 5-mana artifact, when it ETBs, you choose a creature type, and then it has that many counters equals the number of creatures of that type of control. And then it gives all those creatures +1/+1 for each counter on the artifact.
Coma's one-shot then.
Yeah, because Coma hits, you create a bunch of serpents. Let's say he's hit twice, you have 8 serpents. All of a sudden you put this down, all of your serpents get +9/9. Even your other serpents are 12/12s now. You're hitting for a lot.
That's a lot of damage. That's a lot of tokens. That's a lot of card advantage, possibly. Coma's cool. I really enjoyed building it. I just didn't know what to do. There are so many ways and options to build it. Honestly, that's kind of the best. That's how you know it's a cool card. When you could build it 3 different ways and you just can't decide how.
Yeah.
I do think the combat damage way is probably the way to do it. Token would be cool, but tokens are expensive. People like tokens, so.
Yeah. Right,
One really awesome card, though, before we transition maybe to Jumpstart. Maybe we can always bounce back, but there's a few cool cards that are not commanders that we want to point out. So here I talked about Banner of Kinship, which is an awesome one, but Blasphemous Edict is pretty cool. It is 5 mana for a sorcery. It's 3 and 2 black. You can pay 1 black rather than pay the spell's mana cost if there are 13 or more creatures on the battlefield. So similar to Blasphemous Act, it's a Blasphemous Edict, same thing. Each player sacrifices 13 creatures of their choice. The reason why this one's cool, certain decks want their creatures to die, and they want stuff in their graveyard. This allows them to choose which creature. So if you have a board full of tons of tokens and stuff, like you can choose the creatures you want to hit the graveyard. They go to the graveyard, fills your strategy. Or like even mass token decks. Now, that is also the other end of the coin where it could be bad. I think if you're going against Balin, this spell is not going to quite do it. It'll sacrifice a bunch of like little rabbits and stuff and keep his entire board, like you lose everything. But if you have cool stuff and cool graveyard synergies, this could help you fill it.
Yeah, but obviously versus its like obvious counterpart of Blasphemous Act, this spell is really cool too because A, it gives them another color, but the main thing, this spell goes through indestructible.
Yes.
If your opponents don't have enough creatures. And for the most part, apart from token decks, most of your opponents aren't ever going to have more than 13 creatures. For the most part, this is just a board wipe.
Hexproof and Shroud as well. This card's cool. Another one I want to mention because I actually need to pick one up. I do not want to drop $30 on it though. I was hoping it hit 15. That was my goal is 15, maybe $20 on it, but it's quite expensive. But it's Bloodthirsty Conqueror. It's a 5 mana, so 3 and 2 black. 5/5, Flying Death Touch. Whenever the opponent loses life, you gain that much. It goes infinite really easily. I have a Kumbal life gain deck, and it has the combo. It has the Exquisite Blood and Tainted Pact, or Tainted Pact? What's the...
Tainted Blood?
Tainted, is it?
No. Exquisite Blood, Tainted Bond, I think.
Let's take a look real quick.
The big life gain combo that goes infinite that every black life gain deck
Exquisite Blood, okay, yeah. It's Exquisite Blood and Sanguine Bond. That's what it is.
Sanguine Bond, that's what it is.
So this is just another Exquisite Blood. The reason why it's good to note is because it's the only other Exquisite Blood that they've ever made, a card that does the effect. They've made lots of Sanguine Bonds. They have never made another Exquisite Blood one. So that's cool to note. It's also very powerful. It's cool. It essentially has like lifelink almost on its own because it's going to deal that 5 damage. No one's going to block that Death Toucher.
Yeah, very hard to block Death Toucher, yeah. Especially a flying Death Toucher.
Yeah, super hard. I would let you hit me every time.
Yeah, one more card I did want to talk about before we did move on to Jumpstart, which also happens to go good in that Coma deck we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Leyline Act is one of my favorite cards. It's a Leyline, so if you do have it in your opening hand, you do get to start the game with it on the battlefield. And this one's different. It's not an enchantment that has some cool effect. It's a equipment artifact that gives the equipped creature +1/+1, double strike, and trample. I think double strike is just one of the most powerful keywords that exists, especially for like Voltron decks. Double strike is amazing. Yep. But also, giving that trample too makes that for those Voltron combat damagey decks that this piece of equipment wants to go in, you're going to get through too.
Yeah. Can we just look at the Sire of 7 Deaths real quick and just appreciate everything? 7, 7, 7, 7, 7.
Yeah,
Eldrazi is 7 leathers, everything. That's just cool.
It's got a lot of 7s in it, yeah.
Not worth $20 though, but very cool.
I think it's extremely cool. I think in Commander, you don't want to be $20. In other formats, I could see why. I think it is seeing some standard play currently, isn't it?
Is it?
As far as I know, yeah.
I only pay attention to Modern.
Okay. I only pay attention to Commander.
Yeah. We did miss one card. Twin Flame Tyrant. That's...
the other big card from the set, yeah.
5 mana, 3 and 2 red, 3/5 flying. If a source will deal damage to an opponent or permanent an opponent controls, it deals double that damage. Just a source. Doesn't have to be combat damage or anything, so your Lightning Bolt is now...
6 damage.
6 damage. And Nib Mizzet, that's 6 cards.
Personally, I'm trying to pick up one of these for the Energy Modern Horizons 3 Precon. In that deck, you create the copy of it. The copy comes down, tap and attacking. It's a flying dragon. You're probably going to hit someone with it.
Also, real quick, not legendary.
It's not legendary, which means you can have 2 of these guys down, and then all of a sudden that 3/5 is hitting for 12 damage because it's doubling and then doubling again for times 4 damage.
Yeah, I need one of these for my Omnath Locust or Rage deck.
There's a lot of red decks want that sort of thing, so...
I think any deck that's running red is probably... If you have this in your deck, you wouldn't be upset.
Yeah, definitely. And moving on to Jumpstart, though, let's talk about some of these cards.
Can we talk about just the situation of the Jumpstart prices real quick before we...
The Jumpstart pricing is absurd, I think.
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever actually played the Jumpstart set? Have you ever played it how it's supposed to be played?
I have not. I've only just cracked the packs.
I'm pretty sure that's a pretty common theme. They make cards in these sets that are so unique and so awesome. I think Jumpstart, honestly, is one of my favorite sets they ever make because it's almost like an unset where they get to try new things out, but they print them so that we can actually play them. I played it a few times and it was cool, but I feel like most people just crack the packs, which makes the packs, one, expensive, and then the cards are them expensive. Like when I had the Allosaurus Shepherd I sold it for like over $100 to Card Kingdom on their market, like their buy list. Who's gonna drop $100 for a card like that?
Yeah.
Similar prices now. I mean, some of these cards are sitting at. There's 2 cards that are sitting above $50. Like they're cool, but they're not that cool.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it when we opened Jumpstart packs. Colton and I have both opened, I think, 1 Jumpstart pack each.
You got 2. I got 1.
Yeah. For mine, I got General Crete, which was, we knew it was like a $10, $15 card, and we were like, oh, sick, that's cool. But in Colton's, he got Shorefus Sporeshire.
Shreefus, so good.
Yeah. But with that, we were like, oh, Colton got a terrible pack. You know, there's nothing really good in here.
I wrote it off. I thought, bulk.
And then we looked at it later, and all of a sudden, Shreefus is $20. Colton got the better pack than me.
I shouldn't have. So I was trying to actually chase General Crete for my Krakow deck, because I have the Impact Tremors, I have the Perforos. That would be awesome addition, and he's a goblin. I thought Shreefus was like, I read it for a sec. I looked at the art, and I thought, okay, pretty freaking cool. I want the token of the sapling who's holding the Shreefus' hand, but they didn't make it. But anime art is not really my thing personally, but so I was like, okay, whatever. And I tossed off to the side. And later on, we're looking at our cards that we pulled. I pulled a few cool, like the Kindred band or whatever and stuff. And then we were looking at the prices of Shreefus. I was like, $20? And I read him again. He's actually really good.
He does go exponential with his own creatures that he creates. He has one of those cards. Although, one thing that I think is really interesting for him, he's a 1/1 with Trample.
Well, he doesn't say a 1/1. He has lots of cards that you can do to add power to. This one cool one is Verdant Embrace. 3 and 2 green for an aura. Equipped creature gets +3/+3, and begin your upkeep of each upkeep, you make a 1/1 sapling. So it's on flavor, and it also pubs his step power. His power is not saying I want. There's no way.
Yeah, you want to get through with that guy, make more saplings, so you do want to bump that power to actually make sure he can get through. You've actually built the deck, haven't you?
So I built 2 variations. I built a no budget, just as spiky, doubling season, parallel lives, tribute to the world trees, all those expensive cards. I went as hard as I could on that deck, and it was really cool. I built a budget version. The budget was $75. It was more expensive because Shreefus itself was $25 at the time, because we priced through MTG Goldfish. And so their prices sometimes can be a little bit higher than what you might find on TCG and stuff. But we like to use that as just a base, so that way it's the same every time. And I built a $75 version, and it honestly was really fun when I was playtesting it on Moxfield. I had a great time. Stuff like Blanchwood Armor, it's just 3 mana aura. A creature gets +1/+1 for each force you control. It's super simple, super Timmy. You could put Unnatural Growth in, doubling the power and toughness, and including doubling the power and toughness of the saplings.
Yeah.
Those are pretty cool stuff.
Any of those cards that bumps the power of your entire board, I think in that deck, because you just have such a massive board that keeps growing, I think is great in that deck.
Alpha Status was the key card though. I use it in my Marwyn Elf deck. Alpha Status, it's an aura for 3 mana. It's 2 to green, and the creature gets +2/+2 for each other creature it shares a type with. So that means every time he makes a sapling, he gets +2/+2 essentially. So if you hit him for 1, he now turns from a 1/1 to a 3/3. Hit again, you're gonna make 3 now, which then will bump him another 6. It speaks for itself. It's cool.
Speaking of mono green cards from the Jumpstart, one of my favorite cards in the deck is a Donus Elvish Archwood, 4 mana 3/3 elf that makes it so that whenever your elves get tapped during your turn, you untap them, pump their power, and so you get to go again with the elves. Granted, it's only once a turn for each of them. But still, doubling your mana from your elves, since all elves, almost all of them, have some sort of tap ability, or even when you just tap them to attack with them, you're going to untap them, giving them fake vigilance, and then grow their power every turn. I think it's a great card for elf decks. It's going to make elf decks crank so much harder.
Dionys is very good. It's also good to note there are cards such as Wirewood Syndiate that untaps a forest, but you return an elf. If you return the Dionys, it's going to be able to happen again for every creature. Now, those things are limited. They almost always are exclusively a 1 per turn thing. But if you can find a way to bouncer, you can go infinite pretty easy. My one thing is, though, there are other elves. If you're trying to make... Like, this is a pretty spiky card, I would say. If you're trying to go spiky, just play Marwyn. Just play... I guess you could play Azuri, the original. I don't know if this is as powerful as the other ones. I think inside the decks, though, it is extremely powerful.
I think in the 9/9, it's definitely better for elf decks. I think in a lateral deck, it goes amazing because in how many lateral decks do you actually see lateral use her tap ability to tap herself and tap 10 elves, deal 10 damage to everyone?
Actually, quite a bit. It's like a really... Yeah, Hunter used to do it all the time.
When I played against lateral decks, I never saw it.
Yeah, Hunter used to do it as like a win con. Like, all of a sudden, we'd all be at like around like 15, 20 life. And so he'd swing in like, okay, we're still alive. And he'd pop in every time. We're like, why did we forget? I think this is during your hiatus.
I would see him do it one time ever, and then he would just, the rest of the game, he would just try to win through just elf ball.
Oh, he obviously would win through elf ball quite a bit, but no, he actually would use that ability more than you would think. Really? The ability's pretty cool. Good to know. Laughter also just got a reprint.
She did. She is bulk now. But yeah, but with that, you can tap all those elves, tap lateral, all those elves untap, so you can do that ability again, deal 20 damage to everyone, gain 20 life, and lateral plus your elves, I'll get plus 1/1.
Another thing, lateral doesn't specify the timing of the ability. You can do it on everyone's turn.
Dionys does though, and he says your turn.
Oh, no.
Lateral doesn't, he does.
Never mind, excuse that. I got really excited and I was about to build CDH Laughter.
Yeah, it's not there yet. They actually did do a decent job of balancing this card as much as it can be. Shocker for Wizards, I know.
Yeah. No more Oktoberfest type of stuff. I will say one last thing probably until we maybe think about wrapping this one up. Some of the reprints that Jumpstart provided were really, really awesome for budget. So just to list off a few of them. Deadly Dispute is now a little under, around $1. Tireless Provisioner is about $1.50. Knight's Whisper is under $1, it shows. Infernal Grasp is under $1. Bastion of Remembrance, under $1. Sanguinate is about $1. Morbid Opportunist is about 50 cents. There's a lot of really cool cards that they reprinted, that are really awesome. Like, for instance, Vault of Whispers. That Artifact Black Land, it's just Artifact Land. It's like $1 now, $1.50.
Yeah, one of my favorite ones from Jumpstart that I think is also in Foundations was a Galt of Primal Hunger. Great for my Timmy decks and great for my sacrifice decks where I want to sacrifice things with high power. And it's also just a really cheap spell that technically is expensive for even like those Cascade decks that you want to run. Yeah. But he used to be like a $3-4 card. Now he's 50 cents.
Yeah. If we were in Modern around 2017, we would be really, really happy. Dark Confidant is like $6. That's kind of cool. I mean, I was a Dredge player, so I didn't really play that card, but kind of cool. Just a lot of cool cards. Like Angel of Vitality, I actually might pick up now because it's a 2 in the white for a 2/2 flying. If you gain life, you gain that much +1. If your starting life total, or if your life total is 25 or more, it gets +2/2. So in Commander, it's a 3 mana 4/4 flying. Whenever you gain life, you gain that much +1. You can't go wrong. Crimson Wisps, another one. That was probably like the all-star in like a feather type of deck, like a really, really awesome card. 1 mana, it's a 1 instant, target creature becomes red and gains haste on the turn, draw a card. It's also really good in like Zelda, if you put Zelda tokens and things. That card, it's $1 now.
Yeah, those are definitely your type of decks, I will say.
Yeah, like, that's just cool, because I remember that card for a while was $3, maybe $5, but when you're building a super budget deck, you need... like if I see a land that's like 50 cents, I'll find a 48-cent card just to give myself just a little bit more room. Like, it sounds silly, but I mean, when building budget, it really matters to be very selective. And this set is making it so you don't actually have to be as selective, which is really nice.
Yeah, budget's actually becoming a lot more powerful now, which I love. Obviously, with budget brewers, we want budget to be as powerful as we can to make sure that we can actually do what we want with those budgets that we set for ourselves.
Options are always key.
Absolutely. That's it. If we want to, we could just build the decks less powerful, not just, but I think it's really fun when we build those powerful decks with such a small budget, and then we get to show up to Friday Night Magic and destroy people with like $2,000 decks and with like a $25 Pauper deck.
Yeah, you can just throw like, I'm playing Pauper or big. I have a $50 budget deck, and they're like, oh, okay, whatever. But $50 now gets you a lot further. We started building budget $50 decks probably about 5 years ago. I'd say we really started. And if you look at deck lists from 5 years ago and compare them to, like, let's just say the same commander now, oh my gosh, you can do so many cool things.
Absolutely, yeah.
Budget is not what it once was. It's very easy, very powerful, and mostly, it's fun. It's cool to see new cards. It's cool to try out new themes.
That's the thing that I love about budget, where with the non-budget one, we're just building a deck however we want. We're always just including the same cards. It's always like, oh yeah, I gotta put in this card. It's really good for this deck. And you always just end up building the exact same deck, basically. There's always like the exact same, like 20 cards depending on your color.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with budget decks, you're always looking for new budget alternatives. How can I replace this effect? What can I do to do something else? How can I get my card draw in a really cheap way?
I need to make room in the budget for Soul Ring. What can I cut?
Yeah, I have contemplated cutting Soul Ring a lot of times because Soul Ring still is like $1.50 on MTG Goldfish.
Yeah, that's unfortunate because like they're pretty much giving them away for free now.
More or less, but we respect the MTG Goldfish budgets, and so we can't ignore that.
No, which if you guys ever see if you ever see deck lists and they're above the price, just know when it was done, it was at the budget. We do keep it at the $40 or $50, whatever it is.
But what if we set our budget to for that challenge?
Yep, even if it means cutting Soul Ring.
Yeah, which I had to do one time. It hurt me.
Yeah, at that point, just cut all of your non-basics.
Yeah.
Because non-basics, if I have $5 or less for my land-based plus commander, I know the deck's going to be cranked.
I actually was considering that yesterday when I was building a Balin deck, and I saw one of my non-basics was 70 cents.
Which one?
It was a Boros one. I think it was one of the reveal ones, but it was like 70 cents for a non-basic, and I was like, should I cut this? And then I ended up cutting it for the budget.
Yeah. Alright, well, that's kind of the conclusion of our little review on Foundations Jumpstart and the Foundations set as a whole. We think, I can speak for both of us, I think great set. Lots of cool cards have been added. Lots of cool value has been added. Value has been added to the format as a whole as well. I think great reprints, great printings of new cards, unique new effects, unique commanders. The Jumpstart is awesome. Shrewfist alone is like super just funky and weird looking, which is always cool. They have cool art as well. But yeah, you have anything else, or I think I'm kind of...
No, I think that's it. Yeah, Foundations was great set, great value, great new cards, plus great reprints. So, but yeah.
Cool. Well, we will see you guys in the next episode. We have linked our YouTube, so any of these decks or any type of ideas we have, we usually post there first, and then we kind of see what traction it gains. So if you guys have any ideas or anything like that, I think you can comment on the podcast as well. So just let us know.
Yeah, or if you wanted to see any of those decks we mentioned in conversation that we had, definitely let us know. We can share those deck lists that we have too.
Yeah, we have an archive full of just hundreds of deck lists. So we got a lot to share. But we will see you guys next week.